Back here on One Bills Live, coming to you live from the Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. Chris Brown, Steve Tasker, joined by the lead NFL draft analyst for The Athletic. It is Dane Brugler joining us, and you know his work every year. That behemoth known as the Beast will be out in due course. I'm sure you're putting the finishing touches on that thing as everybody waits with eager anticipation. One of the more comprehensive draft guides you can find out there. So, Dane, let's begin here because the Bills specifically are in a situation where they have to refortify their defense both up front and on the back end. We saw the Chiefs successfully rebuild their defense in the 2022 draft with that Trent McDuffie class. Does this draft class offer enough depth at D-line and in the secondary for a team like the Bills to perhaps accomplish a similar feat here?
Defensive line, no doubt. By far one of the deepest positions this year, both on the interior and then on the edge. So there will be appealing options, I think, in the first round if they want to go in that direction. But they're not going to feel pressured to go get that guy in the first round if maybe they want to go with a safety or a receiver or in a different direction. So defensive line, one of the strongest positions this year. I would say tight end, running back, defensive line, three deepest positions, both early and then in day 2 and even into day 3.
Wow. And because of the wealth of talent at that position, some of the other guys at other positions who are top-notch, can that help push those guys down? You get like the running back from Boise State, Jonte, getting pushed down because everybody needs a D lineman and they think the running back's been a little devalued. All of that stuff. Those positions you chose, you talked about. How much does that affect the other top talent at other positions? Because you got to, the money positions are what they are.
It'll be fascinating to see how that plays out because, you take running back, for example. There will be teams in the top 20 that are looking at Ashton Jeanty from Boise State saying, man, what he would do to our offense, how he transforms everything. But we could get a guy in the third round. We get Jordan James from Oregon in the third round, and we don't feel like, there's going to be a massive drop-off in terms of impact. So let's get our tackle here. Let's get our corner here. When's that run start? So at those positions, especially running back and defensive line, it'll be interesting to see where the run starts. And then do teams feel like, okay, these defensive tackles are going, they're going.
Right.
Let's abandon that plan. Let's get our defensive tackle now before maybe we're left without a chair.
What do you guys see when you start doing it? Certainly the elite running backs, there isn't a gulf between the elite running backs and the really, really good running backs. There's that production's hard to discern. What about on the D-line? How much is the drop-off when you start getting down into the 13th, 14th, 15th defensive tackle?
Yeah, and I think, I think it's important to point out how, just like receivers, just like corners, there's different types of defensive tackles, right?
Sure.
You got your nose, you got your one technique. Some guys are more, they're going to use the two-gap technique. Some guys are more the one-gap penetrators. So understanding, who is who and, making sure that fits what Buffalo wants, that's a big part of this. I think you look at, say, day 2, a guy like Alfred Collins from Texas, 6'5.5", 320 pounds. The arms are almost 35 inches. This guy is so disruptive versus the run. He sees it so well, powerful at the point of attack. He's one of those guys on day 2 where, all right, Kenneth Grant from Michigan, he's gone. He's not going to fall to 30. We're going to get our safety here or whatever position they go in the first. Day 2, round 2, a guy like Alfred Collins, that's who I'm targeting. And because once you get to round 3, round 4, there might be some more names there, but the talent does drop off, and you're getting more of a body than maybe a true impact guy.
Right. The Bills, like a lot of teams, like players with position flex. Who are a couple of maybe defensive tackles that offer some position flex, maybe between the 1 and the 3? And for that matter, who are some safety prospects that offer some similar position flex, guys that can come down and cover in the slot or maybe even be a hybrid linebacker type, when you want to be in big nickel?
Yeah, I think Kenneth Grant from Michigan is the one that really stands out because he looks like a nose. And he does execute two-gap techniques. He can be a boulder in the middle of that line. But at the same time, you see the quickness. And I hope he tests here at the Combine because he is going to blow it up at 340 pounds. His speed, his quickness. And so he's still figuring things out as a pass rusher if that first move doesn't work. But he has the traits. He has the ability. And that's why I think there's a chance he doesn't make it. to the end of the first round because he's just such a freaky talent. You don't see guys like that very often. But he would be that guy on the defensive line. And then at safety, it's an interesting safety class. And 2 guys in the first round, Malachi Starks, he's Mr. Versatility.
Yeah.
No matter what you want him to do in the back end, you can find it on tape. You can see him lining up in the slot. You can see him as a star. You can play a free safety role. Even played some outside snaps as a corner. So whatever you want out of your safeties, throw on the Georgia tape. You can find Malachi Starks doing it. And I think that was part of, because he wasn't perfect this year. If you're looking for perfect tape on a safety, you're not going to find it in this class. And Malachi Starks is included in that. But I think they just wore him thin because they did ask him to do so much. They put so much onus on him to make plays. Yeah. And sometimes that backfired, whether it was coming downhill against a run or making plays in coverage. And so, but he's a good player.
Iman Wari is a much different player than Starks because he's gigantic.
Yes.
And you look at the nickel packages in the league now because, like the Bills, they played 95% nickel. But then they ran into a problem because teams are pulling guards and running them at Taron Johnson and running them over.
Right.
And I feel like maybe they want to get bigger at that in the nickel package and go big nickel more. Iman Wari, that guy fills the bill. He's like 225.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what he is here verified. I mean, he's listed 6'3", 227. I think he'll probably be around there, 6'2.5", 225, something like that. And he's going to be a freak here. I mean, he'll jump over 40 inches. The broad will be exceptional. His miles per hour on the field, it's equivalent to 4.3, low 4.4s. So the guy is a freak, and we'll see it here at the Combine. He'll create some buzz, no doubt. I do question, though, can he be a true nickel in terms of coverage and what you want your guys to do, man-to-man. He can man up tight ends. He can man up running backs. But you put a speedy slot in there and ask him to go cover, that's where things can get a little bit dicey. So, it's a trade-off because if you get bigger at the nickel position, you are going to sacrifice some of that coverage deep. And so you have to – it's a fine line to walk. But Iman Wari, no doubt, I think he'll come out of this week as being one of the winners based on how he tests.
Yeah, and then you've got other safeties like Andrew Makuba out of Texas, Lathan Ransom out of Ohio State. Ransom, to me, struck me as a really good box player. And you saw a lot of that from him, not so much coverage highlights.
Speed downhill, he will see it and hit it. And Makuba's really interesting because he transferred. He was at Clemson for 3 years, transfers to Texas, and he played his best ball this past year without a doubt. He played at a high level. Most teams have thresholds for size at safety. Like some teams, they look at a safety that's under 200 pounds and say, nope, we don't want him. We want no part of that. And Makuba is going to be right around 190 probably, so he doesn't have that size that you necessarily want. But toughness isn't a factor, or isn't an issue for him. He comes downhill, he'll hit you. So, Makuba didn't get a chance to see him at the Senior Bowl because he was banged up a little bit from the season. He'll be here, expected to test. I like him as a top 100, day 2 type of safety.
Mm-hmm. Looking at your top 100 on The Athletic, you have 13 edge rushers in your top 65, but just 6 defensive tackles. So you have a lot more edge rushers higher on your board than at DT. Is that because you still prioritize edge rusher as a position over defensive tackle, or do they legitimately have better player grades for you? Because that's we're hearing D-line deep, but it seems like edge rusher has the better quality of talent, at least in the top 100.
I think that's – so, if you want to say the better position top 50, it's probably edge.
Okay.
Better position top 100, maybe it's probably defensive tackle.
Oh, it is? Okay.
But
it's more towards the back half of the 50?
And honestly, there were probably 6, 7, 8 defensive tackles that I hated leaving out of the top 100. There are just so many of these guys. And so top 100, we're going to see a lot of defensive tackles. But because edge rusher is so important, and not that defensive tackle isn't. If you can find an interior disruptor, those guys are going to go. Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, those guys are going to go. But edge rusher, and it's a weird class because Abdul Carter is going to go early. What's Jalen Walker from Georgia? What's Jahad Campbell from Alabama? Are these guys off-ball players? Are they? Can you put their hand on the ground, let them be edge players? But if they're looking to upgrade an edge position, I think the Bills have plenty of options.
So let me dovetail that question with this. The Bills currently do not have a third-round pick. They have a pair of 2s and a pair of 4s. Looking at the drop-off, as you were touching on a little bit earlier, you said when you get to round 4 there is a drop-off. With no third-round pick, might it behoove the Bills to maybe use those 2 4s, climb up back into the third because the drop-off is so Stark, or what do you think about that from a value perspective?
Well, I think it depends on what position, because if
Yeah.
they're looking at defensive tackle, like I said, there were 6, 7, 8 guys I hated leaving out of my top 100, which tells me it's going to stretch into the fourth round.
Okay. So maybe it's a wait-and-see kind of thing for
Right,
them.
exactly. How do the first 2 rounds play out? Especially because those 2 second-rounders, they're not top 50 picks, right? So
No.
Right.
You know, they're later in the second round, so
Right.
you're just – once you make that pick and you go into day 2, who knows how those first 25 picks in round 2 are going to play out. That'll affect the decision you make late round 2. And then, I'm sure it'll be tough for Brandon Beane and that staff.
Holding
to
his water there.
sit still in that third round. And
He moves around all the time in the first round.
Exactly. See the guys come off the board. Be patient.
How do you think the very top of this draft is going to fall? Do you think those 3 teams like Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, do you think those teams stay put? You know the Giants are in the market for a quarterback. Right. They'll probably get a shot at maybe the one they want, if there is one. Tennessee, don't know what they're going to do. So what are your thoughts about how these, maybe the top handful of picks go?
And with Tennessee, they're obviously a wild card when you have a new GM coming in. Who knows how he sees the current state of the roster, especially the quarterback position. This is just a tough quarterback class, especially at the top. I think that if I'm the Titans or I'm the Browns, I'm giving off the vibes that we're taking a quarterback. I'm telling everybody we're taking a quarterback. That way, it's just going to create more opportunities for me at 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. If I'm, say, if the Giants obviously need a quarterback, but if I feel like the quarterback's going, say Cam Ward is the guy we want, and I feel like he's going 1 or 2, then I'm going to do whatever I need to do to go up to get 1. And if I'm the Titans, I jump at that offer, move back. So I think we're going to see some action there, especially because I think the Giants are quarterback desperate. And this is not a draft class, I don't think, where, our first quarterback's gone, all right, we'll just take the second one. You want to go get your guy, especially with, the head coach, the front office, they need to get this right. Okay, they cannot just say, we'll take our plan B at quarterback. Go get our guy. So I think we'd be surprised if we see the Giants move up a little bit. And then, the Browns, Titans, 2 teams that I think want to get out of there, want to move back.
Right. Last one I've got for you here, Dane. I know Siobhan Ravel.
Yep.
And who's the other guy with the medical at corner? It's Ben Morrison from Notre Dame. Hip surgery for him, ACL for Ravel. Yeah. How huge is medical this week, and how much could their stock be impacted, knowing both of those guys are probably not doing any workouts here?
Yeah, and I talked to Siobhan last week. I actually talked to his dad, too, just to kind of get to know him a little bit more and talk about a guy that's overcome a lot throughout his career. I've got a story coming out in The Athletic here this week about he didn't qualify out of high school. He had to go. He was at the JUCO level. He went to a tryout camp at East Carolina. It's not like teams were seeking him out. He had to go try out because he saw a flyer for a prospect camp. And to see where he's come, had a breakout 2023 season. Alabama's calling him, LSU's calling him, Ohio State's calling him. He stays put at East Carolina, has the ACL injury. It was a partial torn meniscus too. He's not going to be cleared until the summer, and so his medicals here will be huge since there won't be any testing before the draft. But great kid. He's overcome a lot. I'm not betting against him. And then with Morrison, how unique is it that you have a corner that's 21 years old who has 2 hip surgeries? Yeah. He had one in high school, labrum tear, and then had the same thing. And so I don't know what to expect from that. That's one of those cases where this is why teams pay the physicians. That's why they have the trainers on payroll. If they say, hey, no worries long term, we feel like he's going to be fine, then great, keep him on our board. But if they have any concerns at all, then you have to listen to that. And
is the kid going to get to his second contract? Or
no doubt, that's part of it. And so you have to trust your doctors and what they're telling you. And Josh Simmons, the left tackle from Ohio State's in that mix here with the patella, with the knee. If not for that, he's a top 10 player in this class. So there are a couple prospects this week that need really strong feedback when it comes to the medicals in order to go as high as their talent says they should.
Dane, thanks. Really appreciate spending some time with us. We'll look forward for the Beast coming out.
Can't wait.
So what is it, right around early April, right?
That's the goal. I hit a wall and say, all right, it's enough.
I can't do anything else. Yeah. I can't tweak it anymore.
400 players is enough.
It's like the old James Brown act. I can't do no more. I can't do more. Maybe one more.